biggest problem for those pioneering families would have been the lack of water. But a few short miles from these arid mountains, I'm in for a surprise.
Just look at this. I'm only 2 miles away from the desert here, but I could be in rural Somerset. If it weren't for the camels, definitely in Arabia.
This place near the coast of Oman sits right on the edge of the monsoon region of the Indian Ocean. Every year, the monsoons turn this valley into a green oasis. Somewhere you can imagine our ancestors flourishing.
But this is a green island in the middle of the desert. The desert stretches on for hundreds of miles around here. So how did our ancestors move through Arabia
to reach the world beyond? There's no way they could have done it without more widespread sources of fresh water. But where are they?
I'm at sea just off the coast of Oman, a coastline that our ancestors may have passed along, except that 70,000 years ago the coast wouldn't have been there because the sea level was much lower. It was up to 50 kilometres in that direction.
And Jeff Rose thinks that the key to our ancestors' journey along this coast lies at the bottom of the sea.
One of the strangest things about Arabia is we have this dry surface, this completely arid landscape, and yet beneath the surface there are heaps of fresh water that's bubbling toward the coast, running toward the coast, and coming up directly beneath us. So right down below, if you were to dive down with a canteen, you could fill it up with fresh water and have a drink.
So the springs down there are still working today?
They're still working today. There are heaps of fresh water coming toward the coast. Only when the sea level was lower would it have been available. So it really shows why that coastline was so important for the early humans moving out of Africa.
So around 70,000 years ago, the Arabian coastline was very different to today. Freshwater springs bubbled up all the way along it. If our ancestors attempted this route, they would have found a lifeline, stretching all the way from the Red Sea to the Persian Gulf. A place which back then was a great fertile plain.
So the Gulf as we know today didn't exist. It was a vast green, lush plain.
Green and lush, you had estuaries and rivers and lakes. It was probably the most important place in Southwest Asia for all of early humans because of so much fresh water that was available at that time. So they had everything they needed for survival.
Well, it sounds idyllic.
It was.
Finding the route that our ancestors took out of Africa has been challenging, but I really think that this could have been it.